We've restored the nurses' bursary.
We've reinstituted nurses' bursaries.
Return of the bursary, which this government has reintroduced.
It was, of course, complete bollocks the moment Johnson first said it.
We've restored the nurses' bursary.
The Conservative government scrapped the nurses' bursary, which previously reimbursed their tuition fees, so now nurses qualify tens of thousands of pounds in debt. As the independent fact-checker Full Fact pointed out, a bursary for student nurses was reintroduced in 2019, but it did not restore funding for tuition fees that existed before. In December 2019, the Conservative government, led by Boris Johnson, announced the introduction of an additional £5,000 grant for all student nurses to help with living costs, with an additional £3,000 available for some eligible students. However, students would continue to pay their own tuition fees. That's not the system which existed before. So when Johnson said this,
"We've restored the nurses' bursary,"
he was again talking complete bollocks. The introduction of a £5,000 maintenance grant, whilst helpful, in no way restored the bursary the government had scrapped. It in no way compensated nurses for the huge loss of having their tuition fees reimbursed, which had existed before. And if all that's not bad enough, the Prime Minister is now repeating the same old bollocks and sending out ministers to do the same in order to add some kind of justification for his government's shameful refusal to give our nurses the fair pay rise we all know they deserve.
We've reinstituted nurses' bursaries.
Return of the bursary, which this government has reintroduced.
Thanks to the Conservative government scrapping the nurses' bursary, nurses now qualify tens of thousands of pounds in debt. And both the Prime Minister and his Health Minister know it.
So you're right, because there's lots of other ways we can value people. We've reinstituted nurses' bursaries. So if you're training to be a nurse, £5,000 a year bursary. That's not available for people studying other subjects. That's because we care about nurses in particular. You asked they should be treated differently. They are. That's very generous.
What Sunak doesn't mention to viewers is that unlike other students studying for, say, English or history or maths, student nurses spend 50% of their time in clinical practice, actually working long days in our hospitals. To expect them to incur debts of tens of thousands of pounds whilst doing that is absolutely scandalous. But that's what the government demanded of them when it scrapped the nurses' bursary. And remember, clinical placements could be hours away. And unlike other students, student nurses have less opportunities to find work part-time. So next time you hear the Prime Minister or any other government minister shamelessly trying to justify not giving our nurses the fair pay rise they deserve by saying this,
"We've reinstituted nurses' bursaries."
Return of the bursary, which this government has reintroduced.
remember it's just more shameless bollocks.
And when they asked for nurses' bursaries, we made sure that every nursing student received a £5,000 grant